Hi, I'm Kia Shaw. I'm the branch manager for the Idaho Food Bank here in eastern Idaho. My branch covers the lower 16 counties in eastern Idaho. So we kind of go like the Montana, Utah, Wyoming border and a little bit west in, and we have a lot of fun here. So for me personally, I started back in 2016. I was working retail and I had a family friend go, hey, there's an opportunity at the food bank in the warehouse and I think you'd be really good at it. So I started down here in the warehouse actually managing all the inventory, all the agency orders. And then in 2019, I actually became the branch manager. So I've been doing that ever since. The Idaho Food Bank is actually a statewide nonprofit. So our main facility is in Meridian. They have the warehouse, and then we have our location here in eastern Idaho, and we also have a location up in Lewiston. So between all three locations, we have about under 100 employees. So we really do rely on our volunteers because all those locations, all three of our locations, serve multiple partners in their regions. Across the state of Idaho, we have over 400 community partners that we work with, anywhere between food pantries, senior centers, schools, emergency shelters, places like that, any other nonprofit who wants to get kind of play in the food game. Here in our location, we work with over 140 of those. So I have a staff of 10 here, and we can't do it all. So we have a lot of volunteers who come in and help. Last year alone, the amount of hours our volunteers served was enough to equivalent 7 full-time employees. So we really do rely heavily on our volunteers and the work that they do, so that way we can get food out to our local communities, to our partner agencies, who can then distribute it out to the communities. When it comes to food banking, employees and volunteers generally do different work. For example, like we won't have volunteers driving our trucks or really working directly with our partner agencies. A lot of our volunteers will actually bag bulk food. So we bring in like bulk oats in these huge 2,000-pound bags. We need to bag them into family-sized portions. And so our volunteers do a lot of that work. They bag them into 1 or 2 pound bags. They will build food boxes that are gonna go to our partner agencies or mobile pantries. So that way our mobile pantries can get them out to the community very easily. And a variety of other products. They will also bag produce. We bring in bulk produce from different growers around the region, and we bag it up again, so makes it easier to distribute. My staff doesn't usually do that stuff. The staff usually will do the order picking, they'll do the driving, they'll do a lot of the fundraising, a lot of the background work that happens in a food bank. So our food comes from a lot of different sources. Right now, we're actually looking about 87% of the food that we receive is donated and 13% of it we purchase. So that's a really cool thing because we really want to make sure we're stretching our dollars as far as we possibly can when people do donate monetarily to the Idaho Food Bank. And so one of the really proud things that we love is the fact that every dollar that's donated, 94 cents of that goes right back into our programs and our food. So we don't have a lot of overhead with it. We don't have a lot of inappropriate spending, things like that. We can really make that dollar stretch as far as we possibly can. And it's just really a great thing. When it comes to like donated food coming in, manufacturers across the state of Idaho are fantastic. There are several that are really just, they produce over in order to donate to the food bank. Cliff Bar, Chobani, Idahoan, Basic American, they're really fantastic supporters of the food bank and the work that we are doing in order to serve the people in need in our state. Generally, we look for the truckload size product because we are such a big facility. I mean, this facility alone last year distributed over 7.1 million pounds of food. So we moved quite a bit of food last year out of our facility alone. Across the state, it was over 28 million. When we intentionally source donated food, we do look for those truckload size donations. But we're not going to turn down food drives that are in pickup trucks. We're not going to turn down school food drives because that is such a wonderful thing to have and add variety into what we give to our partner agencies. And that's actually what we use here in our location to build emergency food bags that we will give out to the public when they are in need of food right in this moment.
Is there ever food that you have to throw away, even though it's donated?
Unfortunately, yes. Probably because expiration dates are kind of a funny thing. When you look at expiration dates, most of the time they have to do with quality, not necessarily food safety, but we still have a threshold. And so when we get food that comes in really old, we unfortunately do have to destroy it. We will end up with produce waste because sometimes you get bad produce that comes in, but we try to reduce that as much as we can. Last fiscal year across the state, we had less than 1% destroy rate, so we didn't have to throw away a whole lot of stuff. And the nice thing is, we actually partner with pig farmers around the area, so when I have like milk that needs to go away, they'll come pick it up and give it to the hogs, so that way it doesn't go to full waste, it actually goes back into somebody else's use. When we have donations come in that are perishable, my freezer space is much larger compared to my partner agencies across Southeast Idaho. And they can actually order from us. So we have a whole system that they use, and all of these products go on that ordering system, and then they can order enough for what they can store. So that's a really nice thing. We generally gather those donations here and then let them get distributed between the 16 counties. When it comes to restaurants, we try to get those to the shelters so that way they can get used immediately. We do have some really, across the Feeding America network that we're partnered with, there actually is some really good innovation going on with partnering with restaurants that we are trying to work into our look into system, but for now we actually just direct the restaurants to places like Aid for Friends or rescue missions, so that way they can get used immediately. However, with our grocery stores, we do glean from them and our partners glean from them almost every day of the week. So that way we're reducing what they're throwing away as much as we possibly can, and we're still being able to use very usable product. Our supply kind of ebbs and flows like everything. There are times where it comes in and it just doesn't stop. Those are usually the holiday season. That's why we refer to pretty much September to December as our season, because it's crazy, it's busy. Everybody wants to give, everyone wants to volunteer, which is a lovely thing to have. But people are still hungry in June and in May when people kind of just don't remember about the food banks. And so that's when our supply kind of goes down a little bit. And it's mostly when it comes into food drives. We have a really fantastic food sourcing staff in Meridian. And so he's very in tune with that happening, and so he intentionally kind of shifts what he does so we can kind of combat that a little bit. One of the really cool things that like I said, we do work with over 140 partners in Southeast Idaho alone. And so I have 2 full-time drivers on staff who are on a rotating monthly schedule of where they go. Like I said, we go from Malad all the way up to Salmon and everywhere in between. And so what our agencies will do is they can go onto our online portal, see what they have available to order, and they can place their order for what they need for their pantry. And my staff here will pull the order, they'll get it all staged, and then if they are in the area, they can come pick it up and they can take care of it then. If they're outside the area, we actually do deliver to them. That way they can get their food as they need it. We try to make it so that way they can get their food roughly around the time they're gonna do a food distribution to the community. So that way they can get that perishable product and not have it sit and wait and not have it go bad on them. And then all of our partner agencies we only require that they're only open so many hours a month. We ask, obviously we ask and beg that they are open more frequently so that way people have more opportunities. But we do recognize and remember that most of the time these are volunteers who are running these pantries. And so we can't ask the world of them. We can just ask them to do the best that they possibly can. And they're all fantastic and amazing at doing that anyway. So they do their food distributions. Some of them are set up as what we call a choice model. So what that means is when the neighbor is coming in to receive assistance, they will walk into the pantry and it's set up almost like a grocery store. They can pick out and choose what they or their family need and will eat, and then they can take it home with them. Some of them do a pre-box distribution, so everyone's gonna get the same thing, kind of depending on your family size sometimes, which is convenient for volunteers most of the time, but when it comes to the families and neighbors receiving it, sometimes there's food in there that they can't eat, like gluten, or if they're on a renal diet or anything else like that. And so we really do encourage the choice pantry model so that way we can give our neighbors that really good dignity and just that ability to choose what they need. So what they'll get from us is the emergency food bags we have up front. So it's just a 8 to 15 pound bag of various shelf stable items. And those are designed to get them through until they can get to a partner agency where they're gonna get anywhere between 50 and 80 plus pounds of food that will include that perishable product as well. So a lot of folks assume that we're actually a statewide organization, which isn't true. We are a nonprofit, and over 50% of the monetary donations that we receive come from individuals. They don't come from big corporations and trusts and foundations. They come from our neighbors here in the state who want to help those in need, who are needing the assistance. So that's a really touching thing when you start to think about it, because you have Idahoans helping Idahoans, and you have a lot of Idahoans helping Idahoans. And it's just a fantastic thing to be able to see, because when you come to the food bank, when you come to our partner agencies, you don't have to provide anything. You don't have to provide proof of residency. You don't have to provide your ID. You don't have to provide proof that you actually do need food assistance. When you walk into the food bank, you walk into one of my partner agencies and say, I need help. They're gonna go, okay, what can we do for you? They're not gonna berate you with a bunch of questions and a bunch of requirements. You've already sucked up enough pride to say, I need assistance. Like, I'm in a spot, I need some help. That's why we're here. Our vision is to have a hunger-free Idaho. We can't do that without our partner agencies. We can't do that with other initiatives happening. That's why we, as a food bank as a whole, we focus on the Hunger and Health Coalition, because food insecurity and your health disparities, they go hand in hand when you start looking at all the research and all the numbers. Social determinants of health are a really big thing that get tackled. That's not something the food bank can do by ourselves. We can't control the housing market, we can't control the health market, but we can advocate for those things. We have a very great advocacy team and staff that work on that, but just continuing that correlation and collaboration to help bring that knowledge and that education together so we can help folks get out of poverty, we can help folks get out of food insecurity, and we can help folks learn how to sustain and be thriving individuals and be where their life they want it to be.